Thanks for joining us on the Winning at Selling podcast. I'm Professor Scott Plum of the Minnesota Sales Institute, and with me is Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems.
Well, Bill, thanks for putting this proposal together. It looks really good, but I need to think about it for a bit. I'll give you a call in a couple of weeks. Okay? But it's not okay, is it? It sucks because you can feel the sale slipping away into an endless series of calls, delays, and put-offs. But what can you do about it? The customer just took over the sale. So shake off those negative feelings as Scott and I discuss dealing with customers who delay and much more on episode 454 of the Winning at Selling podcast.
Talk about negative feelings. I think that's the topic from the psychocybernetics, the personality.
Yeah. I feel negative today.
Oh, really?
People are mean to me.
You're an Eeyore, huh? The Winnie the Pooh.
My dad was a great Eeyore. He could find a cloud in any silver lining. Well, you just wait.
Right.
So,
falling. The sky is
what
falling.
causes it? That's what he talks about a lot, is this inhibited personality.
Mm-hmm.
That he talks about.
Yeah. I think it's important to start with, the personality. What we call personality is an outward evidence of a unique and individual, creative, self-made in the image of God, with sparks of divinity within us, and what might be called the free and full expression of the real self. So that's the definition of personality as the author defines it. And I like how he incorporates the image of God and the spark of divinity. It's like, oh, so profound.
Yeah, I mean, we have a worth into and of ourselves. And I think he talks a lot in this about, are we trying to be somebody different than who we are? There's nothing wrong with improving who you are, but when you get into too much criticism, are you really just trying to change who you are completely?
Yeah. And there are experiences that change us. I mean, sometimes when we get feedback from people that are closest to us, it makes us consider how we behave.
Yeah. Our parents can be kind of tough on us. I think we can overplay and remember too much a criticism of a parent, or even a something that was meant as a kind word that can make us think about ourselves in a different way for the long term.
Sarcasm can be very cutting. I've heard that from people that I've been around. I can be very sarcastic, and I heard that a few times that it was very cutting, and I just stopped it. I just stopped being sarcastic. So that did change my personality. The author talked a little bit about negative feedback as working properly, like a missile or a torpedo reacts to criticism just enough to correct course and keeps going towards the target. And we need to think about criticism as a way for us to stay on course and to not just implode and give up and go, well, you fine, you do it then, and I'm done.
Well, or what he really mentions too is taking it and internalizing it so much that we become unable to make slight course corrections, that we're trying to, totally turn ourselves around 180 degrees and be somebody different. I think this is especially, we hear this in sales a lot. Try to mimic your customer and, be the chameleon. You need to change every customer. And you and I have talked about this, this card system that somebody came up with for sales. So you can find out what kind of personality your customer has and then change yourself to match their personality. And here's what I found. It's kind of crazy. I learned this in public speaking. Some of the audience is going to love you no matter how crummy you are. And some of the audience is going to hate you no matter how good you are.
That's
and
true.
Most of them are in the middle, just kind of hoping you have some good material. And there's nothing you can do. If you change who you are, Scott, just change the ones who love you and hate you. The numbers still flush out the same.
Right.
So you might as well be you and deal with that and not try to worry. And that doesn't mean don't improve.
Right.
But it does mean small improvements over time, not a major course correction in who you are.
Well, it's conscious improvements, and sometimes you need to consider the feedback that you get from people and consider the source. If you're growing and you're becoming better, you might outgrow them, and they might be left behind if you outgrow them. So they're going to want to work hard on holding you back. It also can be a demonstration of weakness as to whose approval are we really seeking. And are
Right.
we really wanting to be liked by that person so much that we change who we are? And every time I get into a relationship with somebody, I really want to truly know who they are, and I'm not judging them. I just want to take in their personality. I want to know their belief system, because their belief system, and the author talks about this, is the foundation of their morals and ethics.
Right.
So the consciousness itself is a learned negative behavior mechanism having to do with our morals and ethics,
Right.
and being conscious of that.
Well, and so true. You said, consider the source. Is this person worth listening to? Do they have the fruit on their tree? Have they exhibited the kind of values, the kind of growth that you want to have? If not, they're probably not somebody that you should even worry about. There's a lot of people out there giving advice that, as author Jordan Peterson says, they haven't learned how to clean their own room as they're out trying to change the world.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so I remember I had a friend of mine, and she wanted to be a life coach.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd walk into her house and it was just a disaster.
Wow.
She couldn't do her own dishes. She wants to life coach me, life coach you.
Yeah.
Then life coach somebody else.
That's so true. We have to be a product of the product. We need to practice what we preach. I think we've all heard those sayings before. Towards the end of the book, he gave us 5 steps, which made it easier to do our notes.
I like numbered things.
Yeah. And acronyms too, which makes it a lot easier for us to talk about.
We got lost without the acronyms.
But there were 3 of them that I really took a lot from, and it really validated some of my own beliefs. So sometimes when we're learning something, we're not necessarily learning something, we're validating what we already know. And sometimes listening to a podcast like this, we can go, hey, I do that. I'm doing that.
That's
so
right.
I'm validated.
That's right.
So, and sometimes it's just a reminder of stuff that we've heard before, going, I learned that a while ago, but I kind of forgot about it and I'm not applying it. Or it's something completely new. And if it's something completely new, then we need to really consider it and kind of dwell on it. I just love dwelling on things, because we're really fixing to try to turn the object. How do we fit it into this hole and manipulate it? But the 3
what
things.
What are the 3 things then?
Stop criticizing yourself.
Yeah.
So we're harder on ourselves than anybody else ever could be. I mean, if you look,
we see every little mistake we make.
Well, we know what our intentions are, and we don't exercise our intentions, and we criticize our behaviors based on our intentions. People judge us based on our behaviors. We judge ourselves based on our intentions. And when we're criticizing ourselves, we're criticizing our intentions and the application of our intentions through our behavior. We did really the best job we could under the circumstances, and we're all human. And we do make mistakes. And when we deliver the humanness and the authenticity, then we're relatable too, because nobody has to feel threatened like we're perfect, and we're not perfect.
So it's that ability to look at the thing you did, see if you made some mistakes you want to correct and move on, but not say, again, going back to last week's chapter, I am the mistake. No, you just made a mistake, fix it, move on. You'll be okay.
Yeah. The other one is speak louder. I think when you speak louder, you command a little bit more stronger presence. I think you have a little bit more confidence in yourself too. And when I do a class and a presentation, and I really have a point that I really want the class to take in, I will raise my voice and I will speak louder, because I need to be able to deliver the confidence to the salespeople for them to apply the content that I give them. And if I'm communicating it with more confidence, they're absorbing it with more confidence, and then they have a greater confidence to apply it, which is the most important part.
Right. Dale Carnegie talks about walking faster, talking faster, be bold in your actions, and you'll feel more bold.
Mm-hmm. And the last
3.
Let people know you like them. It's like going up to a cop and showing them your hands. I'm showing you my hands. I am not a threat. I like you. Just say it was great meeting you. Thanks for the time together. I'm grateful. I appreciate the time. I really enjoyed it. And just give them a validation, because everybody seeks validation. Now, we don't have to be superficial. We don't have to be plastic and fake. We don't have to do that. Sometimes we can compliment them on something that they have. That might sound superficial. If that's not your style, then think about a way to implement this strategy, which is let people know that you like them. Think about doing it a different way. So however you want to implement it, it is your style. It's your personality. Hey, man, that's just the way I roll. Deliver it that way instead of trying to adopt something that's uncomfortable, because it'll show.
Yeah, and I think if we start to build people up like that and affirm them, then we'll get some of that back in our lives as well. So if you're not happy with, if we criticize a lot, we'll tend to be criticized a lot. So,
well,
and the
and
opposite is
that
true.
external criticism becomes internal criticism, because then we're criticizing ourselves, because that's our outlook,
Correct.
and our outlook becomes our in look, and we know that we're criticizing. Every time I hear something good that somebody has done, I say, good for you. It's
Yeah.
my natural reaction. It reduces the resentment that I might feel like, how come I didn't get that, or I deserve that, how come that's not happening to me, or now they're getting something that I'm not getting, I'm getting left out. And that negative self-talk is so strong, we need to really squelch it proactively by our external behaviors.
Excellent point. All right. Good chapter.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, our next book, just as a reminder, Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play by Mahan Khalsa. So go out and pick that up. We're still about 4 weeks away from getting that started, but may be hard to find. You may have to order it specially. So takes a moment to go out and look that up. And you did say it's on Audible if people want to just listen to those. All right, good.
This segment has been brought to you by the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program, presented by your host of Winning at Selling podcast. Every professional athlete has a coach, someone to assist and advise. Tiger Woods had 4 swing coaches so that he could stay at the top of his game. What would you like to improve or overcome in the next year? Perhaps as a salesperson, you want to be more productive with your prospecting, overcoming objections, or delivering more effective presentations. As a sales manager, you want to create a spark within your sales team with a new message, a refreshed approach to starting new conversations with prospects, or you are looking for market-ready strategies to increase revenue and shorten the sales cycle with your existing team. Or as a business leader, you want to transform the sales culture and your value proposition for the new marketplace. Whatever your reason, this is the perfect time to engage with an experienced sales coach. That is why your hosts of Winning at Selling podcast, Professor Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, have developed the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Now you can receive personal coaching from the same sales professionals you enjoy on this podcast. It all starts with a discussion to give us insights into your specific goals, challenges, needs, and motivation. Go to winningatselling.com to contact Bill or Scott about the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Do you believe you deserve better results? Now is the time to invest in yourself, your people, and your customers, and invest in your future.
Well, our main topic today is going to be dealing with customers who delay. I've always found, Scott, this delay or the put off to be a really difficult objection to overcome because it sounds like they're interested. And we're not always sure if they are. So I thought we should take a little bit of time to study it in this episode.
Yeah. Great topic.
So I think a good place to start. What does it sound like, right? So, people don't always recognize when they're being put off, especially if they're very believing in other people. So here's words you'll hear. Let me think about it. That's the big one. I'll need to talk to the boss, the committee, the stakeholders, my mother-in-law, whoever is looking for a reason, right?
Right.
I'll have to get back to you. Thanks for the great presentation. It has you in consideration. That's when it makes you feel really hopeful. It's like, oh, well, who am I going against here? So, and then the timing isn't right just now. Any other ones that come to mind for you?
Well, I think in the opening of the podcast, you sounded very authentic with the response that a prospect gives you. I think another one that prospects tell us is, wow, I can really tell you know a lot about your business. You gave us a lot of information to think about. We need to think about it and get back to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes we didn't really
wrap it in a compliment.
Yeah, they do. And how can you go against that, right? Because they said how smart you are and how much you know about the product. So what are you going to do? You're going to
Because I was really smart, I wouldn't have gotten this objection, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
And we have to be careful about, when we deal with, a a spouse team and the one person says, I got to talk to the other one, we need to be very careful about how we interject. Well, you talk to them about everything, every decision that you make, and we demean the process and the partnership that they have. So that's not a technique to be used. That might have been, good 20 years ago. It ain't so good these days. So there's some techniques that in the past don't really work in today's marketplace.
We always have to be careful about how we're treating the other people in the decision-making process. So what are the reasons why do people delay, right? So obviously one might be they want to buy, but in truth, they do have some internal steps that need to be covered.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Challenge is you don't know what those internal steps are. And you should have found out. This person doesn't have the authority to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about that in the past, that you've sold to the wrong person or not sold to the whole team.
Right. Yeah.
The truth be told, they might have some nagging doubts about the project. There's something that they're not sure about, and you didn't explain as well as you might have. The timing isn't right. We had a lot of projects. I bet you did too. March of last year, they shut down.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was going to go on, and the timing wasn't right. I'm not going to spend $20 or $30 or $100,000 on this when I don't know if we'll be open in 6 months.
Right. Exactly.
And then this is one that I've really found to be valuable. You've confused them by discussing unimportant issues. One of the delays that you didn't hear and you can't hear is a shrug.
Right.
When you ask questions and they don't know and they're not engaged. I talk about, there's 8 value pieces to my particular product or service, and the customers identified that they're interested in 3 of them, but I continue to talk about all 8.
Oh, right.
What kind of questions do you find that brings up in the customer's mind or the prospect's mind?
Well, I think that their stock in the salesperson is reduced because the salesperson is so consumed about talking about solutions, they're not really interested in talking about what the prospect needs and wants. And active listening is really important, and give them what they want. Don't talk about stuff that's not important. And you're right, it is very distracting, Bill. And I don't think that it's talked about enough when it comes to developing salespeople, is to don't bring up stuff that's not important to them.
Yeah. Now there may be one value proposition that you think should be important to them, and you may want to ask them about, have they thought about this, or have they thought about the value of that? It may be a very crucial one in differentiating yourself from the other sales team, but you need to bring it up slowly and not just talk about it as if they already need it. So one of the things I find that goes through the customer's mind is, how much more am I paying for this because it has all 8 of these things and I only need 3?
Right.
So I'm going to go look for somebody that only has these 3 things, and it's got to be cheaper.
Yeah. And there's a lot of products and services that are being priced that way. They have different levels, and you can have add-ons. I mean, it's a great strategy. And it's also a great strategy when we look at our pricing and our offering and the technical support that companies offer. Those technical support people can be great salespeople when they work on adding on different products to the solution. It's a great compliment.
Right. So we call that scalability, right?
Exactly.
Is your product or service scalable so that the customer can choose different levels? And a good part of that sales process is, can I give them 3 levels? And chances are they'll pick the middle one, right? So the alternate of choice close can be very dependent upon those levels.
And when you give them 3 options, they feel like they're in control. Prospects always love feeling like they're in control. Now, who's really in control? The salesperson is, because they defined the arena. They gave the 3 options. They defined the 3 options. Now the prospect needs to pick one. What is the goal of the salesperson? Right. I want to sell something. Pick one. Pick one, and I'll grow with you, and I'll expand it, and I'll add up the ticket over time. And it's just like a server at a restaurant. If you can work on offering them appetizers, and they're like, oh no, then they get to the entree, and then you want to offer them dessert, and they're like, oh well, okay, maybe I'll offer. Maybe we'll do dessert. We're not going to say no to you again.
Right. So these are the customers that want to buy, but there's something blocking the way. And of course, there's the other alternate, somebody who doesn't want to buy, and they're just putting you off and hoping you'll go away. So what do we need to determine?
I think you need to determine what's most important to them. Why do they want to make a change now? The process that they're going to go through, and the people that are involved in it.
Well, what's the real objection, right?
Well, yeah, the real objection is is something that they're afraid to tell you.
And that fear can be, if they know this, then they'll charge me more.
Right.
Right. Or if they know this, then they'll know I need to buy it now. So when we get this blocking, this delay, and really with any objection, you need to ask more questions. Try to figure out what's the reason, what's behind it, what's the challenge. But for goodness sakes, don't just say, okay, well, 2 weeks then. Great, I'll give you a call.
Right.
Because you're going to be dead. So try to get those questions out there, and then try to overcome that option at that time, overcome the objection with the right option. So do they need more information? Do they need clarification? If we need to meet with others, let's set up a time. Hey, Scott, I don't want to make you try to present my material to someone else, and I'd love to be there to answer questions. So can we set up a time to meet with Larry or the other people you need to meet with, right?
Right. And I think one of the main reasons that prospects hesitate is they don't want to give information. I mean, the key to sales and the key to negotiation too is information. The more information somebody has, the more they're able to do something with you. So prospects want to maintain control. So they do that by not sharing information. And it's really building that trust and rapport in the beginning, and then getting to a real transparency in the conversation by asking the prospect, I get the feeling there's something that you want to tell me, but you're afraid that it's going to hurt my feelings. Can I just ask, what are you thinking of that's holding you back from proceeding to the next step, whatever that is? And then get them comfortable sharing that with you, because you can't move forward unless you know what that objection is.
Right. And there's some times where, and I get tired of the back and forth of the delay, and I'll just say, hey, Scott, it sounds like you want to tell me no.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to tell you no. Okay. Then the only other option is yes. So let's figure out how we're going to get the yes and quit delaying this thing. And so, but if they tell me no, at least I know, well, Bill, I do want to tell you no. Okay, good. Save me time and effort. Let's move on. So many, we've talked about this before, so many sales funnels are clogged with 40-week-old promises that aren't going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
So get them cleaned out and work on the ones that actually have some promise to them, and start to drive that sales process to the next step. Yeah. Now, one of the things I know you're an expert in, Scott, when we get objections, quite often it's because we screwed up earlier in the process. So what are some of the things when you hear about this delay objection that you start to run through your mind and say, okay, what did I miss, or what did the salesperson miss talking about when they had the chance?
Well, if they give you, I want to think about it, then you're obviously not talking to everybody that's involved, and you maybe don't have a clear understanding about the timelines they go through when they want to make a decision, or the motivation of reasons why they want to make a decision is unclear. Because if people are motivated to change something that is costing them money, they probably want to do it as soon as possible. And if they're giving you a put off, then for one reason or another, they're not seeing the value in your solution, or they don't understand the cost, consequences, and risk of inaction. Every salesperson competes with inaction. It's prospects doing nothing. And there's a mismatch with information that the salesperson has or needs, and it's not given, and maybe some of the information that the salespeople are presenting to the prospect that the prospect needs to know in order to make a change. A lot of times prospects want to maintain their control, so they hold back information. Either that, or they're being overly enthusiastic about wanting to make a purchase, so that the salespeople end up being very forthcoming with all this information, and then the prospects can go, well, the prospects are going to practice the belief of, I want you to like me, or I want you to know that I like you. And then all of a sudden the salesperson just spills all of the solutions and all the advice and everything to the prospect. So the prospect gets all of the information that they need. The salesperson leaves without getting the information that they need. And then who's in control? Well, the prospect is, because they have all the information.
So they're not doing a good enough job at discovery. There's some key discovery elements that they need to. You talked about, what can be lost by indecision and delay.
Right.
right?
And also qualification. It's very important to continuously be qualifying your prospects. Just because you think they're a perfect fit and they start acting like it doesn't mean it's so. What is a
Mm-hmm.
qualified prospect? I'm talking to the right people. I'm going through a process that's clear, and it's something that is immediate. It's something that they want to talk about now, today, and they want to take action as soon as possible.
Right, right. I find that a lot of salespeople just want to go for the big close too. They don't know how to get small agreements through the process that indicate to both parties that we're moving in the right direction with the right people and doing the right thing. How do you like this? Is this working for you? How would you make changes to this? Whenever I end up, even by the time I get to the proposal, I call it a working document and say, look, this isn't cast in stone. Let's make the changes to this proposal. And I allow them to make changes to the proposal so it becomes theirs.
Right.
So get those small agreements during the whole process, and don't just wait for this big drum roll close, because it's too big of a decision for most people to make. They freeze up.
Right.
And say, well, maybe, because I don't know what to do.
And also think about getting the disagreements, the qualification of, you want to know as a salesperson whether it's going to work or not work as soon as possible, so that you can spend your time, money, resources, and efforts with other people, period. And if you're testing, the rope to make sure that the anchor still holds, then that's good, because you're still in the game.
Right.
If you get out there and you pull on the rope and the anchor is not secure, you don't have anything. You're adrift, buddy. I mean,
pull up that rope and all you get is a frayed piece of rope.
Exactly. You want to know as a salesperson, is the rope holding? Am I still gripped to the bottom?
All right. So if you want to deal with the delay, or if you're dealing with the delay, first look at your whole sales process. Are you asking the right questions? You shouldn't get caught with the same delay problems over and over again. As Scott said, if you're not finding out what the real motivations are, if you're not finding out who the real decision makers are, what the process is, you're going to get caught in a delay at some time. So do better discovery, then you'll chances are you'll avoid those delays. But if you get into them, make sure that you ask more questions, keep driving the sale forward. Don't take the delay and say, okay, I'll call you in 2 weeks.
Good advice.
I do have a resource on this. I have an article called When Prospects Hesitate, and we'll link that. This segment of the Winning at Selling podcast is brought to you by The Art of Prospecting, Your Guide to Getting in the Door by Steve Kloida. Steve Kloida was known internationally for increasing salespeople's ability to make solid appointments with qualified prospects. You too can learn this essential skill by ordering a copy of his superb book, The Art of Prospecting, Your Guide to Getting in the Door. In this book, Steve shares the top strategies and tactics he has developed, implemented, and personally tested with more than 1 million sales and prospecting calls. You can get his book on the website theprospectingexpert.com. In addition, check out his other great online resources. Instant Sales Coaching, which will guide you through 5 online success modules. A guided prospecting process entitled Call Reluctance Transformer. And the Magnetic Selling Strategies Workbook, a detailed step-by-step guide to increasing your sales. Get any of these valuable resources at theprospectingexpert.com.
So as a reminder, all of our show notes that Bill and I have talked about are at the website winningatselling.com. So you'll be able to get all of the resources that we're offering. You'll be able to get the next book. We'll offer that on the website. And our golden nugget will be there, which is...
Drum roll, please.
Yeah, and I'm going to get to that. I know you're anxious, Bill.
Oh, you're going to set this one up again?
No, I'm not going to set it up. I'm just going to go right for it. If you don't have time to do it right, when will you have time to do it over? By John Wooden.
Wooden's a great quote.
Yeah. Great leader. What a great leader. I mean, the Woodisms, I think he calls them, these great lines that he's came up with.
Yeah, I think it's, we tend to rush through things. We tend to do things sloppy. Do it well. Do it as best you can the first time through. So as Scott just mentioned, our new website, winningatselling.com, is where you can go to get all the information and the show notes.
Next week, we're going to cover Chapter 12 of Psychocybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. The title is Do-It-Yourself Tranquilizer.
I could have saved so much.
Yeah, it's written. It's just written in the book. Huh?
That's right.
And our very special guest, this is an author from the Harvard Business Review. He's written a book on sales management that works. It's Frank Cespedes, and we are going to have an interactive conversation.
I think this one's going to be really good. I've been reading the book. It's very, very dense. There's a lot of material in it. And what I'm excited about, I like the way he puts things together. It's about people, process, and then the product. So if you don't have the right salespeople in the right spots, it doesn't matter what your product is or how wonderful your process is. So I like that order of thinking.
Yeah. So if you have any questions that you would like us to ask, please email them to us. I've created about 4 or 5 unique questions. I think they're common challenges that sales management, sales leadership has. And I'm really interested and curious about what Frank's opinion is and what his response is to that. So it'll be a great episode. I'm really excited about it.
Go out and get better, one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.